This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. So there are countless obstacles to overcome when pursuing a career in theater. A global pandemic is not usually one of them. 31 Broadway shows have been dark since March 12th, suspended due to COVID-19. The shutdown will continue until further notice. So today I'm speaking with Maiya Blaney. Maiya is a 20-year-old singer, actor, writer, dancer, and performer from Montclair, New Jersey. She is currently a company member of Broadway's Jagged Little Pill and also has an up-and-coming solo career as a musical artist. Maiya, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to spend some time with me on Stop Time today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
It's
please.
nice to be here.
So if it's okay with you, I would just love to kind of jump right in.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, amazing. So listen, tell us about the moment on March 12th when you found out Broadway was shutting down.
So I was actually in rehearsals for the show. Essentially, I had to go in for an immediate position. So they were going to give me, I think, 2 weeks of rehearsals, and then I would have done the show. So we were really in a pretty hectic mode, and I was learning pretty much the staging or the choreography for like the first act of the show in one rehearsal. And during that rehearsal, I remember the choreographer and music director, the dance captain and the music director were kind of like talking in between, us rehearsing the dance. And I'd sensed that there was something going on. And we were asked to all like sort of congregate to this room. And the stage manager got the entire company on the phone and basically told us that we would not be returning to the theater for another 30 days.
Wow.
And it was really that quick as well. It was kind of out of nowhere that all of a sudden it was just that Broadway was dark.
Wow. And so what happened next?
So we were sort of just excused for the rest of the day, obviously, because they couldn't keep us there. And there were all these people that I had only just met that I had to say goodbye to and sort of be like, okay, I'll see you in a month, even though we only just met today. So it was very weird. I felt like I was definitely prematurely sort of stripped from the experience.
Wow.
And I wasn't really sure what that was going to do, like how that was going to leave me in the company. I knew I was a part of the company, obviously, even if the show wasn't running, but it felt weird because I hadn't yet established myself as a presence. So there was just a lot of stuff up in the air about, like, I felt a huge amount of like imposter syndrome. Because I was like, what am I doing in this company? Nobody knows who I am. I swear I got into this, but nobody had met me really, or they met me in passing, or they'd heard of me. So it was kind of weird, but everyone's really welcomed me in this weird virtual sense. Obviously we would have loved to have like seen everybody in person and meet them that way, but considering the circumstances, it's been above and beyond.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's great. That's really wonderful to hear that, but so are you saying that that was your first rehearsal when this happened?
That I think was my second or third rehearsal.
Wow. So you were just at the beginning and you were so
Just
focused. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, the day before I had been getting, fitted for wigs and costumes and everything. And then had been like seeing the show and taking notes every night. And then, it was literally the next day I'd come in, had learned all of the music like over the weekend for the show. And we were learning the choreo to All I Really Want, which is like the first major company number besides the overture.
Wow.
And it was just like in the middle of that, they were like, stop the rehearsal. We all need to get and and we have no idea what's going on, but we don't think it looks good.
Isn't that amazing? I bet that's something you'll never forget, that moment.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Wow. So what was your first sort of thought when that happened?
Honestly, I was really, really afraid about whether or not I would return with the show.
Yeah.
Because I initially auditioned for a temporary swing position. Well, not temporary swing, a temporary ensemble position. One of the original castmates was on medical leave, so I sort of went in for their track and was to do their part up until the point where they had, ended their 3 months or whatever, or if less than, then my contract would be cut short, because of just I was basically like the substitute teacher for this
Right.
person.
Right.
So my biggest concern was, wow, like I'm really about to book my first Broadway show and then not even be able to do it. And I think that still is a very big concern for me, as there is so much uncertainty in the air.
Yeah.
But everyone in the team has been so incredible and honest. And I think they understand the gravity of the situation for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, they're not just seeing me as another actor, they're seeing me as somebody who's like, oh, it's this young person who's about to make their Broadway debut. Like, if we can make that happen for her, we really, really want to,
Yeah.
you know?
Isn't that
So
amazing? Yeah.
it really, really is, because that's not what I was prepared for at all with
Mm.
um, how people told me that the industry would be like. Um, yeah,
Interesting.
even just in any classes that I had taken, it was very much like, you, like, nobody's going to accept any kind of BS. You have to be punctual, you have to be this, you have to be this, which is all true in terms of etiquette. But I think that there was a certain sense of humanity that I just assumed was non-existent in the business because of it. And
Mm.
I have been met with some of the most just like human people in terms of, they're like, we understand if now is a tough time to be responding to emails because everything's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? The
Yeah,
discoveries you make, right?
yeah,
There's always
definitely,
learning to be had in every experience. Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, it's perfectly like, understandable that, you would be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're so focused. It makes such great sense. So I love that you were able to sort of shift that sort of the feeling of being victimized, as we all have felt by
Mm,
COVID, for depending on what circumstance, and that sort of idea that you assumed that, oh boy, this is going to mean this and that and the other, but that you discovered
right.
otherwise. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. So, what is your definition of living in the moment?
Mm. Um, it's funny because I think anytime I live in the moment, I'm never intentionally saying I'm living in the moment right now. It's more so that there's just a period of where I'm just so in it, and then maybe like 5 minutes later, I'll be like, "Whoa, I was really living in the moment just then." Like I didn't even notice it, but I wasn't thinking about the future. I wasn't thinking about the past. I wasn't worrying about anything, or getting anxious, or building any sort of expectation around the future or anything. It was just really existing, and I feel like that's a hard thing to do intentionally. It kind of just happens on its own. Um, so I guess it's just that. It's like an involuntary living. I don't really
Mm.
know how else to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, it's when you're in the flow, right? Where you forget
Yeah,
to eat, you forget time, you forget everything, and you're like, well, if
yeah,
you
yeah.
if you could practice it, like if you could actually, because like sort of have the skills to be able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think your life would be any different, your day-to-day life?
Mm. If I could practice it in my day to day.
Yeah, like if you couldn't, like, it's great that you can recognize it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you've definitely experienced it. So I'm just curious to know if you were able to use it as a practice to figure out how to call upon it when you needed it,
Right.
what that might look like or feel like.
I think it would definitely have to be at a moment where I've allowed myself some kind of breath. Like I've allowed myself some sort of respite of saying, I don't have to do anything right now. I think that when I put a pressure on myself to be active, then my body will be active, but more importantly, my mind will be active, and sort of just starts racing and running over itself. And the times when I am able to fully be present and calm are the moments when I'm not asking anything of myself in that moment. I'm sort of just allowing it. So I think if I was to do it every day intentionally, it would have to be a moment a day where I would say I'm not asking anything of myself right now other than to just breathe and exist. And that it's crazy because it sounds so simple, but it's actually it can be quite difficult in the moment to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, of course it can. I mean, what factors would you say influence your ability to be or not be in the moment?
productivity and the feeling that I really need to do it, that I need to be productive. Um, it's a, I mean, we live in a society that capitalizes on our productivity, that says you are a benefit to this society if you are constantly contributing to it. And I know that obviously for myself, but also I think for a lot of people, especially in this time, that it's our ability to be productive has been extremely limited. And so, in a way, psychologically, we're saying, oh, I am no longer able to contribute as well to society. And then there's all these things of being, oh, I'm now deemed as a failure. I'm deemed as worthless because I'm not adding anything, because I'm not giving anything to this society. And it's really harsh mindset to live in, because then you're essentially saying to yourself, me just living and breathing and existing is not enough because I have to be doing that in order to serve somebody else. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that has definitely been a really tricky thing to navigate during this time. It was already something that I had been navigating, but especially now with it actually actualized, um,
Yeah.
in life, of being like, what would it be like if you were not allowed to go outside, you weren't allowed to go to work and do all these things? I feel like that's always a hypothetical that I've toyed around with, so to have it um, be a real life scenario has been kind of trippy.
Yeah.
But those would definitely be the things that would be getting in the way of me living in the moment completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you see, do you see any opportunities in the rug being pulled out from you and it actually happening where, you're not able to tick those boxes that show that you're being productive?
I think it's been good for me because I know that I'm an artist and I'm going to be an artist for the rest of my life. um, so if anything, the lack of structure was a good challenge, um, because I know that as an artist, there's already going to be that lack of structure in just day-to-day life, and a lot of the onus is going to be on me to provide some sort of schedule, some sort of like game plan for every day. And I'd come from like from school and then gone to like a rigorous work schedule. So I was so used to being like, this is where I have to be at this time in the morning. So this is the time I have to go to bed at night. This is how much time I have to eat dinner or whatever. So to then just be thrown into this like structureless life was very weird and unsettling.
Yeah.
But I think that has been the thing that I feel most proud of in terms of navigating, because now I can say to myself, yes, um, I'm able to do the thing without somebody telling me to do the thing,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Because
Like
I
what?
feel like that's such a test. It's like, can you still be doing these things if there's nobody asking you to?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then it's really like, have you been doing it because you feel like you should or because you genuinely want to? And I have been doing it, and obviously nobody's telling me to. I'm not paying anyone to do it. Nobody's paying me to do it. It's just out of a genuine love and passion for it,
Yeah.
which has been really, actually, if there was ever a positive lining of this entire situation,
Mm-hmm.
that would be it. Yeah.
Well, and that's something that you can take with you. right? I mean,
Yes.
it's something that you're learning about yourself that you can move forward with, and it makes perfect sense that when you come, you've been in school your whole life, and then
Mm.
you're stepping right into work and jobs and an industry where, it's pretty clear what path, what the sort of accepted path is for most people
Mm.
to take, and ticking off all the boxes. It makes sense that when suddenly there aren't any boxes at all, let alone, the proscenium, or I mean, literally, I mean,
Yeah.
there's, everything has stopped.
Right.
And, the systems that you've relied on, you realize, have been pretty external, based on external things.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Mm.
I love what you shared about, learning that, hey, I can do this. I've got this. No one,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That's wonderful. Do you have any like specific strategies that you might share with the listeners? And if not, that's fine. I'm just curious. Like,
Mm.
is there anything in your daily practice that helps you?
Well, I've always I've always just been somebody that wanted to do things that I love doing. As simple as that sounds. I've always just wanted to do the stuff that I love doing. I've never wanted to be forced into something. I remember when I was applying for colleges, I heard about all of these like peers of mine applying for schools that they didn't want to go to
Mm,
just because they were like, but I have the grades for it, so I'll get in if I go, like if I apply here. And then they get saddled into these schools that they have no desire to go to. And I
yeah.
never wanted that to be how I saw my life. I never wanted my life to be something that I felt like I should do even if I didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
So my mantra for every day is just to do whatever feels right that day, and to do something that I want to do, because if I want to do it, I'm going to see it through. I'm going to do it with passion, and I'm going to want to do it to the best of my ability. Um, and just sort of picking out whatever passion project that is on that day, and allowing myself to do it fully. And it's going to be different. Maybe one day it's making a really nice home cooked meal, and maybe one day it's doing a writing session, either by myself or with a friend over FaceTime. And maybe one day it's going through the entire score for Jagged, like, and
Right.
making sure I have both tracks, because I'm a featured ensemble member, but then I also am the Frankie understudy. So going through the entire soundtrack,
Yeah.
and making sure I still have everything, memorized and in my body.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just making sure that the thing you do is coming from such a genuine place of want and love, um, and just wanting to have something, some a creative outlet for anything.
Hmm.
Um, just figure. I think it just comes from a place of asking yourself on that day, saying, what is it that I want to do creatively today, and then doing that.
Yep.
It's so simple, really. um but I think that a lot of the time when we get wrapped up in the should, we sort of limit ourselves and limit our creative abilities,
Yeah.
because we're telling ourselves that we should be making the thing rather than making the thing that's already sort of circulating around in our head and is asking to
I
be
love that.
ready.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I often say that should is could with shame.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
I'm curious to know, obviously creativity is a number one value for you in your life, and that makes
Mhm.
sense. And I'm curious to know, on the days when maybe you don't feel tapped into that creativity and you don't feel like being creative, how does that show up for you? How do you navigate that?
Well, it's definitely tough, and it's happened a lot. Obviously, in this entire quarantine so far, and what I've found myself trying to do is to just be as forgiving and yeah, I mean, forgiving as possible, really,
Yeah.
and lenient with myself, because I don't want to always push myself to come out of those stages of a lack of creativity, because I'm like, they come and they come and they go, whether I'm in quarantine or whether I'm living life as I was however many months ago. There would always be those stages of feeling like, oh, I'm not really making the art that I want to be making right now, or I'm not as passionate as I want to be. And those just they come and they go. But I think especially now, trying to remind myself, okay, if if I am not creative during this time of being stuck in my house by myself, that makes sense. And really trying to reinstate that for myself, and being forgiving.
Yeah.
Because I think it, for some people it works to say, I'm going to come out of this with a like a magnum opus. And then for a lot of other people, myself included, to just sort of alleviating that that need to create something during this time has actually been the best, because then I'm making things just because I want to, not because I feel like I have to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you said it. I mean, I love that, the forgiveness and I mean, let's face it. I mean, you can't force yourself to be creative, right?
Yeah.
That's coming from a place of judgment. You're not being creative enough. And you're right. I mean, it's so easy to fall into that, like seeing, oh my God, so-and-so's getting taking another degree and learning how to speak French and English, and taking,
right,
and
yeah.
it's like, whoa, and that's okay. Like, no judgment. But, also, yeah, learning to sort of just step away, as you said, and breathe, and not compare yourself, because there's no good and bad if there's no comparison.
Exactly.
There just isn't.
So true.
And so, and I'm really hearing that, creativity is your comfort zone, and that it helps nurture you and heal you, and that you're ready to receive it when it's there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So listen, although I'm sure it wasn't how you envisioned your debut with Jagged to be on like the live stream benefit event, what stood out for you most about being part of that experience?
I don't know. It's kind of it's a little crazy to me to just just be watching this like Broadway live stream, and then I'm like, oh, there I am. Like,
Yeah.
It's a little cuckoo. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely a bit of the imposter syndrome coming in, as well, as I am doing all of this stuff and then I haven't yet performed on the stage with everybody. So it's really weird. Like, this is the stuff that I would be doing, after I had been running I had the show in my body for weeks or months even.
Yeah.
So it's such a weird timeline.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? I remember Chris York, my voice teacher. I was talking to him during the entire audition process, and he was really a wonderful guiding light for me that entire time. And he kept reiterating the importance of seeing artists, Broadway artists, professional, whatever. He's like, they're people. Yeah. I think you're going to see them on screens and be like, whoa. And then you're going to meet them in real life and realize that they're just humans. And that was definitely something that stuck out to me, and that soothed me the entire time, because I would walk into these rooms, it wasn't like I was constantly going on auditions during school and stuff, so I wasn't seasoned to the point of just, I could walk into a room with anyone and be fine. Right. But having that sense of, you know what, everybody in here is just a human being. Everyone's just a person. Like, they have dogs and relationship issues and parents, or they have a favorite food, or a food that they don't want to eat, just stuff that's very much like this is a person. And so I think what's really cool is that, because I've had the time to meet everyone in the cast and the crew, we do like happy hours on Fridays, which is really lovely. I've gotten to see everybody as a person. And so when I see myself up on that live stream screen, I'm like, it's me, a person with other people who are all a part of this thing, which is really cool.
I love that. I love that.
Breaks the illusion in a way. But it doesn't break the beauty and the excitement of it.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, but then at the same time, I can still tap into like my middle school self,
where
I would see it and be freaking out and be like, oh my God, it's like people on Broadway, like this is crazy.
Totally.
but now there's definitely more of a sense of just grounding with it.
Yeah, and it sounds like, it's funny because that your first thought, going back to when you shared about, when you were in, your second or third rehearsal and everything kind of ended, that
Mm-hmm.
that imposter syndrome came up for you. And it's interesting because it's sounding like not so much anymore now that everyone's kind of, you're realizing we're all human and we're all experiencing this together.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Nobody could have planned for this. Nobody could have expected this. Um, and nobody knows what's happening or what will
Exactly.
happen.
No, that's
Um,
right. Yep.
it's
I mean,
very much just equalizing. Like everyone's really in the same boat.
yep. Yeah, and everything feels, a little out of our control, a lot out of our control right now, no doubt, right? But
Yeah,
what we can control is how we choose to feel and be in each moment.
definitely.
You know.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what do you know will be true about you, no matter what happens? So say Broadway never comes back, and you just have to, you know what I mean? Like just like
Mhm.
what can no one take away from Maiya, no matter what?
That I'm constantly going to be searching for happiness in my daily activities of just life. I'm always going to be creating because that's what makes me happy. I'm always going to be meeting people and connecting with humans because that's what makes me happy. I'm always going to be saying yes to things and opportunities, no matter if they seem like they're in my right path or not. I think there's just a gut instinct that I carry with me everywhere I go that is just going to be present for the rest of my life because that gut instinct is always going to be leading me towards what is probably going to be the most remarkable chapter that I could have had in that moment. And as long as I follow that gut, the best possible thing that could happen will happen. I think the circumstances will change depending on what is possible, but if it is possible, I think it will happen.
So trusting the process, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's very powerful. And it's interesting because you did say in there, and I love that you said that, and I want to point it out. I think I
Mm.
heard you say, I'm going to say yes, even if I know it might not necessarily be what I want to do. You're going to give it a chance, basically, is what I was hearing. Tell me
Um,
just a little bit more about that. I'm curious about that.
yeah, I think that there's definitely this idea of like a linear path. Like let's say for musical theater, for example,
Mm-hmm.
that you graduate high school and then you've applied to all of these schools for musical theater. Hopefully, you get into a school for musical theater. You get into this program. You do the 4-year program. You move to New York, and then you audition your butt off, and then it's gonna be really, really hard. And then, you book something, and then you'll book, your breakout role after like a year or so. You do the thing, you figure it out, and then after that, it's sort of just like either you keep doing it or you don't do it at all. I feel like that is the musical theater linear path, or at
Right.
least what I had been taught.
I see.
Um, and I knew that I didn't want that for myself. I knew that I didn't want to have an expectation of what my career would look like because as soon as I had an expectation, I would get disappointed because I would say, "Oh, well, it's not living up to what it should be." Because by now I should be in my like grueling audition process phase. Or
Totally.
I should be in my 4-year program phase. Like, what am I doing?
It's like, oh, it says on the calendar that I should be really
Exactly,
depressed.
exactly. It says on the calendar that by May of next year I should have booked a Broadway show.
Yeah.
So I knew that I didn't want that for myself. And
Yeah.
that's why I kind of went into school being like, I'm gonna do musical theater, but I'm also gonna do music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that when you sort of release, yeah, when you release the expectation and you just allow yourself to not be following a linear path, to just be moving with intention and with gut instinct, um, whether it seems like it's what you should be doing or it seems kind of like out of left field, but at the same time there's that gut feeling that you're like, you just never know what could happen.
Yeah.
And the ways in which life can bring you back to where you wanted to be, and all of the different paths that you can take to get from one place to the other is boundless.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of silly to me to ever think that I have enough knowledge of my life to be like, I have to do this or else everything is going to go off of schedule. Because I don't know the schedule. I don't know the plan.
You don't buy into it. Yep.
Really do is just, just go with my gut. Really. That's it.
Totally. So where do you see yourself 3 years from now?
Where do I see myself? Well, you know what? I started making a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan right at the beginning, like right after I'd booked Jagged. It was like the first time in my entire life that I had done that. And I had the 5-year plan. I feel like the universe almost heard me saying it and was like, "You're so funny," and then just crashed the pandemic into the world.
Oh my God.
Because I've never had my life that planned out. But I was really like, oh yeah, I could tell you exactly what I'll be doing like 2 years from now.
I love that.
That is absolutely in shambles now. I have no idea anymore. I truly do love New York. I do. I'm not just here because this is where Broadway is. I'm not just here because this is where so much music is and all of that. I genuinely just love this city. So I could see myself still living here. I want to move to a French-speaking country for like a year. I speak French, but I know that the best way for me to really dig into it is immersion. So I do want to go, away for a year or maybe more. Who knows? Hopefully, creating bodies of work still, music-wise, doing shows, playing festivals, touring, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of almost like luxurious to think about that stuff now because it feels so far away from the next time we'll be able to do things like music festivals and shows.
Listen, I could talk to you all day long. But before we say goodbye, I love to ask my guests this question. What are the top 3 things that happened to you so far today?
Today?
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, my roommate made me tea. I got a call from my mom and I talked to my mom. And it was just good to hear her voice. And Lisa, I think this is a highlight too, having this conversation.
Aw, thank you.
This is a good highlight.
Yay.
This is the top. This is in the top 3 for sure.
Yeah, mine is yep. I'm with you on that. And what are you most looking forward to today?
What I'm gonna make for dinner.
Yes.
Yes. Dinner and dessert. I think I'm gonna do something really tasty. I think it's gonna be good.
That is a beautiful thing. Maiya, I so appreciate you taking the time to be in the moment with me and sharing your story. I really, really do. And I wish you nothing but success and health. And I think you seem like you are really on track energetically to really take on the world inside, outside, anywhere. And I'm so excited to watch your journey.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening.